All right, we are live, baby. Insider betting is back. Jesse, appreciate you joining me today. How you doing, bro?
Doing great. This is what Dominick Reyes is one of my favorite fighters, so I'm very, very excited to talk about this card, and it's a pretty good, fun card for a fight night in front of a crowd. I'm excited. It's just UFC's popping. I'm riding the high of 302 and everything, so I'm excited.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so for those just joining us, we're going to be talking about UFC Louisville. I'm going to give you predictions, breakdown, analysis. If you disagree, leave it in the comments. But first, before we get into predictions, do you see the Nate Diaz stuff in the press with Masvidal? Crazy,
yeah,
hey?
that it was wild. I was watching it from the Fan Mio live stream, and it just kind of looked like it was like a team on team like ruckus. Couldn't really see a lot, and then I'm going on social media and I find a video. Mike Milesjak, the guy from the what's his name, Logan Paul's buddy. What's his name?
Yeah, Mike Malak.
He posted in his Instagram stories a close-up video of Killshot, who is Nate Diaz's teammate, just straight up brawling with Jorge Masvidal, and Masvidal is pulling Killshot's hair, like literally pulling his hair to the ground. Like that's not a fair fight. Like you can't do that, man. You gotta square up with somebody. I mean, in Masvidal's defense, like he has to stay healthy for a fight. He's got to fight, and like he compromises a lot of money if he gets knocked out or something, or he hurts himself. But like you're pulling hair, man. Come on, not cool.
Honestly, in a street fight, anything goes. I'm game
for
it. They're falling over. There's the chairs behind them. Fuck it, you know. I'll take that. There's also
the furniture was moving, as Charles Barkley likes to say.
Yeah, literally. And what's it called? That Killshot went after Masvidal's, I think, coach, from my understanding.
Okay.
Masvidal's coach appeared to be okay, but definitely it looked like he took a straight left to the face by Killshot.
Yeah. He went right for it. He was right in there. He got him. He definitely clipped him.
But you know what? Like I know some of the Inside Fighting team, especially like our founder. He's really close friends with Nate Diaz, and I know he goes to a lot of these events for these pressers with Nate and his team. And every time, like I'm just like, thank God I don't get invited to these. Like, I'll stay on the sidelines. I'll commentate from the side, but I don't want to be in the action at all times.
Yeah, but we get some great footage if you were.
Great footage.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's start with some of the predictions, some of the analysis. I want to start with the feature fight on the prelim. We got Thiago Moises versus Ludovic Klein. It's going to be a super interesting fight. I think it's two well-rounded opponents going at each other. Obviously, Thiago Moises is great when it comes to his grappling and BJJ. I think Ludovic Klein's grappling can be underrated at times as well. I do think he's got great grappling, but for him to win this fight, I think he's got to keep it on his feet. I think he can I think he has the striking advantage versus Thiago.
Yeah.
And if he can kind of take advantage of that, that'd be great. He does also have an 83% takedown defense, which kind of goes to show that his grappling is pretty good. But yeah, keep it on his feet. If Moises gets Klein's back, it's probably game. But I am taking Ludovic Klein to win at minus 125 here.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually, because I'm looking at their fight stats. Moises only has 4 knockouts out of his 18 wins, so he's clearly very much grappling heavy. Yeah. Whereas for Klein, out of his 21 wins, 9 of them by knockout, 8 by submission. So he's clearly very well-rounded. He has a lot of different ways that he can beat you. And I agree about staying on your feet. I do think that this is one of those fights that's probably going to decision simply because it seems like a lot of fights with Moises gets to decision.
Same with
6 of his 18 wins. It's 10 of his 25 fights get to decision. So I like Ludovic Klein by decision, if I'm being honest. Like, just my first takeaway at this, I don't think I'm going to bet it. But at a plus 175, I think you gain a little extra juice if you want to bet on him. And I think that's kind of a fun little one to maybe throw in a parlay or something like that. Yeah. I'm not going to bet on it, but I like that.
I agree. Like you said, like you might not bet it. And honestly, like if there was any week that I would sit out for betting on you.
Oh boy.
A lot of people this week. But at the same time, Yeah, they're just 50-50 toss-ups, you know? So it'll be an interesting card. But going into the main card, it's starting off with Miguel Bazea versus Punali Soriano. Baez is coming off of a 2-year layoff. He's 0 in his last 3. He has 2 wins before that, so he's 2 in his last 5. Punil's also coming off of a couple losses. He's 1 in his last 5. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. This is going to be a sloppy fight, I think. And they both get finished often. I'm leaning towards Punali at plus 160 here, but like I said, I just don't want to bet these fights because I can also see Baeza winning, you know, but coming off of a 2-year layoff, like that's a long time not fighting. So who knows what kind of shape he's going to come back in. But yeah, what are your thoughts here?
Look, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm very biased in this one because I've interviewed. By the way, before I even continue this point, I know you're having some trouble pronouncing his name. You can just call him Puna. You can call him Puna Soriano. It makes it much easier on you. Just call him Puna.
Please.
He does go by Puna. It's Puna Hele, but call him Puna. He's had a little bit of a tough run here. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, and the only fight that he's won was against Dolce Longambula, and everybody beats Dolce Longambula. He's kind of like a guy that everybody that you just beat to get your footing back.
Yeah,
this is a tough one. I agree with you. I'm probably not betting it, but I don't know, man. I just think Puna's kind of due. He really packs a wall up. He hits hard. He's a knockout artist. He can really strike. This dude has that Hawaiian heat. He's got that Hawaiian power. I think Puna's due for a win. I'm not betting it. I'm just looking at Miguel Baeza. By the way, his nickname is Caramel Thunder. That's a pretty good nickname. They're both on tough runs here, and the past 2 fights Baeza's lost has been by TKO. To me, that doesn't bode well for Baeza. So I think Puna's gonna get a knockout in this fight. I'm leaning towards betting that, actually. If I were to bet anything, I'll come back to you, but I'm gonna look at the odds on that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I
he's
think
a plus 160, so it's good odds.
It's great odds. That's why. Yeah, he's plus 160, just straight up money line. No, I got my bets on Puna, but again, just 50-50. You're betting the unknown here, you know.
Plus 275 for him to win by knockout or TKO. Nice. And if
What's
I were to place
double odds on the KO and decision, just in case. Do you have that?
Question. I don't have that. Where is it?
I'll pull it up. I'll let you finish what you were saying. I'll let you know what those odds are.
That's it. I just really like the idea of him clipping him at some point, and I think it's a fun little one to throw in like a little parlay to just to add a little extra juice. Like I said that in the last one, I think there's a lot of fights on this card that are like you've said, there's a lot of 50-50 bets. Yeah. I'm just gonna have to flip a coin on terms of like which ones I'm actually gonna make a bet on because I really don't know. Yeah.
Puna is plus 175 for KO or decision. So you got a little sprinkle extra, which I think is a good bet. Consider if you're going to go money line, he's not going to win by sub. I don't think so.
No, he's plus 1,400 to win by sub. That's what I was about to say. So it's very unlikely there.
Yeah.
He likes to stand and bang.
Yes, sir. Next fight up, we got Julian Marquez at minus 142 versus Zachary Reese at plus 120. Julian, I'm not sure how he goes, but he's 2 in his last 5, while Reese was on a tear and then took a loss to Cody Brundage during his last fight. I'll also note that Julian Marquez's most recent win was against Smiling Sam Alvey. So in 2021, and that doesn't say much. Now, I think Reese has great BJJ. I also think that he kind of uses his BJJ to kind of take some he'll go down and then he'll try to take someone's back from there. So he uses his takedown defense to grapple people. So he might let Marquez come at him, you know.
Yeah.
But with that being said, this is another underdog pick. This actually might be like one of my locks of the night, to be honest. Out of all these fights, I got 2. But at plus 120, I do feel pretty confident with Zachary Reese. I think he had a bad one against Brundage, but I think he'll come back winning.
I totally agree with you on that. And just looking at them, I just think this feels like Reese was on the way up. And then he faced a wrestler in Cody Brundage, and he's the guy that there was 2 head slams on the Sarukian Benil Dariush card. This guy was one of them. He got knocked out with a head slam, and him and Joe Selecki both got knocked out with a head slam.
Yeah.
He was on a 6 fight. He was 6-0 before that fight. And he was looking damn good. He's got 4 knockouts out of his 6 wins.
Yeah.
I really like Zachary Reese to get the job done. It feels like Marquez is like might be a stepping stone fight for Reese to see what he's got, to see where he can maybe get into like a top 25 type of fight. So,
oh yeah,
no, yeah, I like that.
I see champion commented again. It's nice to see you, brother. What's up, brother? I love seeing you comment in here. So it's nice to see you back. But anyway, we're on the same page with Zachary Reese. Next,
I didn't know we had a champion in our Oh, damn!
Yeah, champion comes back every once in a while. Love seeing him.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. But anyway, next fight we got Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus.
Nice try.
Yeah, I'll try. How do you say his last name?
I have no idea. Stoltzfus. Yeah, that's how I pronounce it if I saw it. Yeah. Yeah.
Bruno. Well, they're both coming off of wins. Bruno is 4 in his last 5. Dustin is 2 in his last 5. And Bruno, his most recent win was against Phil Haas. His most recent loss was against Nurulston Ruziboev. It's an interesting one because originally when I was looking at this, I was saying to myself, all right, if it's if we get a KO here, Ferrer wins. If it goes to decision or if there's a sub, Dustin's going to win because Ferrer's loss was against a grappler in a sense in Nurulston, but I don't think Dustin's at that level that Nurulston's at, you know. Obviously Nurulston took that loss recently, but still, this might be a knockout. He's got 8 knockouts out of his 11 wins. So as long as he can keep using his takedown defense, which he's at 66%, so he'll need that to win, I think. But I do think he's going to knock out Dustin. Potentially in the first round, probably in the second. But yeah, I take him at -258. I'm not fading the favorite here.
No, I actually think this is an immortal lock. I'm just looking at it. He beat Phil Haas. That's a quality opponent to beat. Lost to Nursultan, who's really good. I mean, he did lose to God, who's the guy that he just lost to? Buckley.
I know.
Joaquin Buckley.
That was it. That was a great fight too.
Yeah, but might have been kind of semi-fluky because it was a first round. So sometimes with those, you just kind of have to like accept it. First round knockouts, like sometimes those can be fluky. Gregory Rodriguez, that's a good win. He knocked him out he KO'd him in the first round last year. I'm looking at Stoltzfus, and he's fought 3 times in the last 4 years almost, or 4 times in the last 4 years. So he has not been active. And yeah, he did beat Puna Soriano, who's on this card as well. But, you know, he lost to Gerald Mearshart 3 years ago. I don't know. I don't like this fight for Stoltzfus, and I'm pretty sure this is another lock for Ferreira. If I were to place a bet, this would be a parlay though. I wouldn't bet it money line. I would parlay it.
Yeah, a -258. I don't want to call it a lock because I called the last one a lock, but it's pretty solid bet there.
Yeah.
All right, we're on the same page so far. But next up, the feature fight of the night, which is what the UFC tends to call the third last fight of the night, is Raul Rosas Jr. at -230 versus Ricky or Pretty Ricky Turcios, I think. Turcios, sorry, yeah. Raul, he's 8-1. He's got 5 subs. He took a pretty, not a nasty loss. I think it was a unanimous decision for Christian Rodriguez when they fought there. It went to decision. Ricky, he's 3 in his last 5. All his wins, all his losses are against I don't want to say relevant fighters, but definitely no like notable names. He is +190 as well. I think that this fight, the way we've kind of seen Ricky or the way we've seen Raul fight in the past, if this fight goes kind of like midway past the second round, we might see Raul gas. But at the same time, Raul is so young. He's 19, I believe. He also, when you're at that age, you just improved so much in such a short period of time. So I think last time we saw him fight was on Mexican Independence Day, or like in and around that time. So that would have been like middle of September, beginning of September of 2023. So it's been a few months. This fight's also important to note that it was supposed to already happen, I believe, last year. But the night of the fight, Raul Rosas Jr. was sick. So he couldn't fight. They tried to push it back a week, but Pretty Ricky over here said, nah, man, I came ready. I don't want to fight this week. Let's push it back. And you know what? He had every right to do so. I respect it. But I still got Raul Rosas. So winning this fight.
I think what was supposed to happen is they were going to do it at a catch weight, because generally when you have to, when you've cut weight, both fighters had made weight.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we're going to schedule you for next week. They would do it at a catch weight so the fighters don't have to cut weight again. But there still is a weight cut involved, because if a lot of guys rehydrate like an extra 10 to 15 pounds or whatever it is. And if you're up to like 155 or 150 after cutting to 135, and then you have to cut to 140 to make a catch weight, it's still a significant weight cut that you have to do 2 times in a row. So I actually think Ricky probably made the right decision for himself not to do that.
I agree.
And that being said, this is a big prove it fight for Raul Rosas. Look, obviously he's very young, so he has time on his side. But in his last fight, he did win by knockout. And that was surprising, because his striking is the thing that he's not known for. But he got the knockout win. He needs to show that he's not this like one-dimensional fighter where he's just all or nothing at the beginning of a fight, because I think that's what happened against Christian Rodriguez. He went for it right away. He wins the first round, but he doesn't get the finish, and then he totally gasses out, loses steam. And then Christian Rodriguez just outmaneuvered him for the next 2 rounds. Basically, like, what would be the word? Like, he like MMA'd him for the next 2 rounds. I don't know how I would describe it, but basically just like he showed experience where Raul Rosas showed he didn't have any experience. I think Raul Rosas needs to be challenged in a way where he can show that he can win in the later rounds. Because you make a great point. If it gets past like 1.5 rounds, it starts to become a problem for Rosas.
Yeah.
I think the longer the fight goes, it favors Turcios. But I still think Rosas can win by decision if he can just slow it down. I interviewed Kalen Loughran about this, who's actually going to be calling out Rosas if he wins at UFC 304. Kalen Loughran's going to be calling out the winner of this fight. UFC bantamweight from Ireland. Yeah. He wants to fight Raul Rosas. The nickname that he gave him is Dick Lips. That's what he calls Raul Rosas. So he wants to fight him. The point that he was making about is that he almost goes at like this Hamzat style sprint. And I've made that comparison before. He's almost like the bantamweight version of Hamzat. He's all or nothing, so fast, just goes for it and then gasses out. He needs to find a way to temper that. He is very young, so he's very eager when he gets in there, when he's fresh. He's got to slow it down. He's got to be patient with this one, because this is a good challenge for him. It's a prove-it fight, but I think he gets it done. I don't know if it's by finish or by decision, but I would bet him money line.
I agree. I think that the important thing to note here is that this is so I agree with everything you said, where it was, he's got to show that he can control himself, right? He can come, he might not want to come out swinging right in the beginning. He might want to take it easy. He wants to last the whole 3 rounds.
Well, just don't run at him and try to go for a takedown 5 seconds into the fight. Just like
100%.
Slow it 100%. Down,
But at the same time, I do think he needs to keep that energy up, and I think he needs to prove that he can keep it over 3 rounds.
Exactly.
Because I think that if he wants to be a serious contender, obviously he's only 19, like the kid's so young. But if he wants to show that he's going to be a serious contender, he needs to be able to kind of go hard for 3 rounds, because if he wants to be a champion one day, he's going to have to do it for 5, right? So I don't mind him coming out of the gun in the first round, but at the same time, he needs to bring up his cardio to the pace where he can carry that over. Maybe not to the same pace in the 2nd and 3rd round, but at least be able to survive in the 2nd and 3rd round. And I think that's going to be really important to see. But I do think it's going to be a sub. I don't think it's going to go to decision.
I agree.
But I do think he's going to win by sub.
I actually think that's one of the better bets, even though it's probably not great odds. I didn't look at the odds yet. I'd imagine it's probably like plus 150 or 200 or something. I'd imagine is what it is. But one thing to note about Rosas is that he's been trained. He's doing all the right things that a young fighter of his age should be doing. He was training with Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili. Those are two grappling heavy bantamweights. Those are great guys to train with. Those are the perfect guys to train with. And then he goes and he trains with Sean O'Malley and Sean O'Malley's coach. I'm blanking on his Tim Welch. Goes and trains with them. He's getting all of the right advice from all the right people. I think that shows a dedication to what he's doing. I think he's doing all the right things. I think that there's absolutely championship potential here. He needs to win this fight to prove that.
I agree. It's interesting. I was talking with a friend of mine actually before the show, and he brought up that same point, but he actually had the opposite perspective for it. He thinks because so Raul, he doesn't have like a gym where he's like dedicated to all the time, and he kind of jumps around between gyms, training with these high level fighters, which is really, really important. But at the same time, I think he needs to like sit down and like just focus on like one strategy and like really level up his game in that sense. And I think that's when you see a lot of fighters, like the example you brought up with Sean O'Malley, with Tim Welch, where Sean O'Malley sticks to that gym, sticks to Tim, and they come with a game plan and they can improve on it fight after fight after fight. And I think that'll be important. Maybe not yet because he's so young, but in the near future, he'll probably want to start doing that.
I think that's a really good point because I know that like Ian Gary's had this problem with bouncing around gyms, but that's because he's been sort of kicked out of gyms where people didn't like that he was keeping a camera around and stuff. But Rosas, I think that's an example more and less so about like his inability of knowing who he is as like a fighter or how to train. It's more so like dealing with fame early on. And, you know, when you have parents that are super protective at that age, he was 17 when he was on Dana White's Contender Series. Yeah. Like he was a kid in high school. And just kind of fresh going from high school wrestling straight into the UFC. And it's like, you got to figure out like who you're going to trust, not just who you're going to train with. And that's there's probably an element of that where there might be some parental control involved, where they're like, his parents might be guiding him a little bit more than most fighters would, right? Yeah. Your mom and dad are helping. You're 19. Like I was talking to my mom and dad every day when I was 19. You know what I mean? So I could imagine there's an element of that. I think that is definitely a valid point, but I would say for a 19-year-old kid, that's less of a concern than I would have for like a 25-year-old like Ian Gary or 26, whatever he is, where it's like, hey, dude, like you're getting kicked out of gyms. That's a problem. Yeah. He's 19. He's switching around. Like you can forgive him for that because he's trying to figure it out.
Of course. He's trying to figure it out. He's learning a few different styles. He's learning from champions, you know, and that's totally cool. And I agree with you. Keep it up right now. But, you know, once he's 20, 21, like perfect your game. Because at the end of the day, all these champions have their own style, and that's what makes them the great champions that they are.
Exactly.
Right? But anyway, so we both got Raul there. Co-main event. Dominick Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. Reyes is coming in at plus 190. Jacoby's at minus 230. They're both coming off losses. Jacoby's coming off of one loss. He's 2 in his last 5. He lost against Manyfield in his last one. He also had a loss 6 fights ago versus Roundtree, which I thought was important to know really quick. Dominick Reyes is coming off of a lot of knockouts. So he's been knocked. He got knocked out in his last 2. And then he got TKO'd the fight before that. It's tough, dude. It's tough. A lot of people feel like he beat John Jones. I think that was a decision loss at the end there. This is going to be a striking bout. I feel like when fighters keep getting knocked out consistently, what happens is, I don't want to say his chin's gone, but it's kind of gone, you know? I feel like if Jacoby lands one clean shot, he's going to get the win. So I do have Jacoby by TKO. He's at minus 230. The TKO is at plus 110. I think he's going to go under 2.5 rounds at minus 145. But yeah, I hate fading Reyes. I'd love to see Reyes win. I really do. But I'm leaning towards Jacoby here.
I understand everything that you're saying. And you said people feel like he beat John Jones. people don't feel like he beat John Jones. This is the man who beat John Jones. I don't care what anybody says. Go rewatch that fight 57,555 million more times. He beat John Jones in that fight. I will maintain it until the day I die. It's tough. He has been knocked out a few times. He's looking a bit chinny. He is looking like his chin is gone. And that's a problem when this is what happened to Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie was still having wars at the end of his career, still putting up great performances. But then once he got hit, it was over. You're absolutely right. And that could be the case for Dominick Reyes. Dominick Reyes is 34. Dustin Jacoby is 36. If there is a fight that he can bounce back and win, it would be against a guy like this.
Yeah.
Who's a little bit older than him, who's also been knocked out before. Not as many times as Reyes, but realize Reyes has only had 16 MMA fights. So it's not as if he's been through like as many like wars like Dustin Poirier. He's just been knocked out a lot lately. He's coming off 4 straight losses, 3 of those by TKO, or 3 of those by knockout, and 2 of them have been brutal. I mean, the Yuri Prohaska spinning elbow is one of the most brutal knockouts you will ever see in MMA. It is gnarly to watch, like truly gnarly. But that being said, this is the guy who beat John Jones. And if this guy can beat John Jones, I believe he can beat Dustin Jacoby. You know, it's just, I will maintain this, that I think that he still has something left in him. This guy was dealing with a lot of health issues. He had blood clots last year where he literally had to take time off. The reason why he hasn't fought since 2022 is because he had blood clots. He thought he was going to die. So he had to get that taken care of. He's talked in interviews about how grateful he is to be alive. I just think that he's kind of in a good place mentally where I think he probably wasn't for his last couple of fights. I think losing that decision to John Jones took a little bit of the wind out of his sails. I think it was hard on him because he had to build himself back up. He felt like he got a little bit wronged. Yeah. And when the MMA community kind of like backs you and they keep saying like, oh, you won that fight, you got screwed, all that, it kind of takes a little bit out of the motivation away from you because you kind of start getting down on yourself, right? Yeah. It's like, I don't want to come back and do this and have to do this all over again. You get down on yourself. And I think his perspective is good. I like it. And my favorite bet of the night, this is the best high value underdog you're going to get on the card, but he's also plus 450 to win by knockout. This is a strike fight. Jacoby's a kickboxer. Dominick is a stand and bang athlete, football player. He's just going to out athlete you if he wins.
Yeah.
Reyes by knockout plus 450 is my favorite bet of the night.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
Considering Reyes, out of his 12 wins, 7 of them are KOs, right? Like,
yeah. No, I mean, before he went on this losing streak, he was one of the great knockout artists in the division.
Yeah.
Head kick, knockout, TKO, head kick, TKO punches. He beat OSP. He beat Uzdemir. He knocked out Weidman. He was really doing it, man. He was really doing it. He TKO'd Jared Cannonier when Cannonier was a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
No, he was doing it.
No, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the one thing for this fight that is a guarantee is that it's going to end in a knockout. These two
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. These two guys have 31 combined wins. And out of those 31 combined wins, 19 of them have been by knockout or TKO.
Yeah.
So I think that's almost a guarantee. But anyway, main event.
Watch Reyes wins by submission.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. Main event. Jared Cannonier versus Imavov. Let me run you through some stats here real quick. Cannonier has the reach advantage at 2.5 inches, not big. Imavov has a height advantage of 4 inches.
We have that on the graphic I sent you, by the way.
Oh, nice. Let's pull that up real quick.
I don't think did we add it?
Yeah, I got it here. Here, 1 second. Okay. Bear with us, guys, real quick here.
I can also show it, or we can do it the other way. Whatever you want. Nope. Premature. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, I'll give you guys a sneak peek of what my parlay is going to look like, but that's okay. I don't mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those stats I was running through. Now, I want to run through Jared Cannonier and his last few fights here, okay? In his last 10 fights, he's won 7 of them, okay? I want you to keep that in mind. And he's lost the 3 fights that he's lost were against Dominick Reyes, like you mentioned, Robert Whittaker, and Israel Adesanya. All massive names, especially I know Dominick Reyes maybe not massive right now, but when they fought, really big name, right? Now some of his wins, he's got a win over Anderson Silva, Kelvin Gastelum, Derek Brunson, former champion Sean Strickland, and Marvin Vettori. Those are some solid wins. And I think what happens with Cannonier is he fights these 5-round fights and he just does them really well. You know, he doesn't gas. He takes these decision wins. He's cool with them. I know the Strickland one was a bit iffy, although he won it by unanimous decision. A lot of people think that it should have went Strickland's way.
That's the Sean Strickland experience, man. Every fight Sean Strickland loses, that's going to happen. It's just the type of fights he puts up.
Yeah. But yeah, it's tough. Imavov, he is very capable of beating Cannonier, in my opinion. He can do it. But what I have is like the question mark is that all the guys that Cannonier has beaten, they've also been very capable of beating Cannonier. And I just think that he's like this 5-round merchant. And that's why I have Cannonier winning by decision at plus 102. And if he wins by decision, it's actually plus 225. So those are my picks there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault you for it. Cannonier is 40 years old. Imavov is 28. Imavov, when he gets his striking going, when he gets his combinations going, he's really impressive to watch. Cannonier has fought at 3 different weight classes. He's fought at heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight. He's done like a whole just physical rebirth in himself. Like he completely changed his diet and everything. What he used to look like, what he looks like now is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Imavov almost beat Sean, was putting up a very good fight against Sean Strickland. Jared Cannonier set a significant strike record against Marvin Vettori. I forget what the amount of strikes it was, but he landed the most significant strikes in history, I believe. It was either in middleweight history or in the history of the UFC. He landed like something crazy, like 200 and something significant strikes. Vettori took a beating in that fight. Yeah. But, you know, I don't know if you're going to be able to, this is a really tough one, Adam. Like,
it is.
I'm looking at their stats here. You know, when you look at the reach, yeah, he's got the reach on Imavov, but Imavov is taller, so theoretically he might be a little harder to hit.
Yeah.
The striking accuracy is similar. The takedown defense is really good for Imavov, but Cannonier does like to stand a lot. The finish rate is basically the same. I mean, this is essentially just a coin flip.
Yeah.
And in these situations, I just feel like Cannonier might. I think he's really good. I think he could absolutely compete for a title, but I just also don't see him being around much longer. This is his last chance. Like, he has to win this fight or he's not getting another title shot. You have to beat Imavov if you even think that you're going to be fighting, I don't know, Strickland for a rematch for a title eliminator or something like that. Like, you have to win this fight. But I think Imavov's going to take it. If I'm being being honest here, he's 28. He's 12 years younger. I think he can outlast him. And if it does go 5 rounds, yeah, I do think Cannonier has shown that he can do that. You're right. Yeah. But I think Imavov just has so many weapons and tools that he can pull out. Yeah. I do think this fight goes more than 2 rounds, but I would think as the fight goes on, it's going to start to favor Imavov because I think his striking is so slick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. When I was Cannonier trains out of Phoenix, Arizona, out of the MMA lab. And that is the same gym that Sean O'Malley trains out of. And I was actually at that gym leading up to, 299? That's when O'Malley fought.
Yeah.
And unfortunately O'Malley wasn't there, but Cannonier was there. And I saw him sparring Benson Henderson. I'm going to try to get us that footage. I think I might have it somewhere, but
he was sparring Benson Henderson.
Yeah. It wasn't like a full on spar, but they were in the cage together. Yeah. They were.
Benson's like tiny compared to Cannonier. Like,
yeah, but it was, Cannonier just looked good, man. Like he was, every guy in the gym looked up to him. It was very interesting to see, but maybe I got that like emotional connection just because I've seen him. We didn't even exchange words.
No.
I saw him, but I do think Cannonier is going to take it. And I guess if he wins, do you think this sets him up for a title fight or a title contender fight?
God, if I'm being honest here, I don't know if the UFC even wants that. Because Cannonier did get his title shot against Izzy, and that's one of the most boring title fights that we've had in a while.
Yeah.
There's a 5-round decision snooze fest. He's obviously deserving of it, no question about it. I like the idea of because here's what's going to happen: Khamzat beats Whitaker, right? In Saudi Arabia. Is it Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia? I forget where they're fighting.
I think it's Saudi Arabia because
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
If Khamzat wins that fight, I think Khamzat's next. And so it's like Cannonier and Khamzat are going to be on the same timeline. Those fights are only 2 weeks away. So I just think that even if Cannonier wins, unless it's like a crazy knockout where like it's undeniable, I would, if I were to make a bet on this, I would bet we don't see Jared Cannonier fighting in a middleweight title fight. That'd be my bet. But not that he's not deserving. I just think that the UFC would want to go in a different direction.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird considering he's ranked 4th in the middleweight division.
I know.
Right?
I know.
It's like, do you set like does Khamzat get the title fight, or are they going to?
Here's the thing. They're trying to set up Izzy versus DDP right now.
Yeah.
Then Strickland, he's saying how he's sitting out waiting for a title fight. He just beat Paulo Costa. You have Robert Whitaker, one of the best middleweights ever, fighting Khamzat Chimaev, who's destined for a title fight at one point in his career. And it's probably going to be when he beats Robert Whitaker. So if he beats Robert Whitaker, I should say.
Yeah.
Where does Jared Cannonier fit into that picture? You know what I'm saying? And he's 40 years old.
It's tough.
So what are we going to do? Wait 2 years till he's 42 until he gets his shot? I just don't see it happening, personally.
Yeah. So Izzy versus DDP is next. That hasn't been announced yet. And that's going to be after Cannonier. It's going to be after the Khamzat fight. I think so. So let's say, well, it doesn't matter how the title fight goes, but then Strickland's going to be next.
We can probably pull this down now. Yeah, sorry, we can probably pull this down now.
It's all good. No, keep it up because I got the parlay coming next. You're good.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, but so you got DDP versus Izzy. That's gonna go whatever. But then you got Strickland next, which I don't think the UFC is gonna make him fight another fight. I think because he already low key deserved the title shot after losing, right? Because it was kind of like an iffy loss. But him getting the win, Strickland versus DDP.
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So because he got the win versus Paulo Costa, he showed that he deserved the title fight after, right? So now we got those two fights. If Cannonier wins and if Khamzat wins, I do see the UFC potentially setting up this fight in the interim because it's so far in advance for Khamzat to now get a title shot, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I do think that if Khamzat doesn't get a title shot like within the next year, I do think that fight makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's just too much time, right? Because let's say they set up the Izzy and DDP fight for like September, October, November, right? Which is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Then the next fight's going to be versus Strickland, which is going to be another 6 months, right? Yeah. And then we're going to be another 6 months before whoever is ready to fight again for most likely.
Depends on who's champion. If it's somebody that they want to hold on to for a while, it'll go longer. But if it's like somebody if Strickland, the time between his title reign to like when he lost to DDP was pretty short. Yeah. So it does depend on who wins.
But long story short, by the time Strickland gets his title shot, it'll already have been a year, most likely, give or take, since these fights have ended, right? So I feel like they'll have to set something up in the meantime and then set it up again later. So we'll probably see if Cannonier and Khamzat win, we'll probably see that fight at a very similar timeline than we would see when Sean goes back up for the title fight. I would assume. And then
that would make sense. There are like other options that are potential here. Hold on, let me just go through the middleweight rankings really quick.
I think what it shows is the middleweight division stacked, dude.
Because I mean, like Brendan Allen, for example, he's been on a nice run. Like, would you give Cannonier a title shot before Brendan Allen, like if Cannonier wins, I do think Brendan Allen versus Cannonier kind of also makes sense. Because they were trying to set up Allen with Vettori. They might be trying to rebook that. I actually don't know what the story is with that. I could be totally wrong, but it's like, then you got Caio Baralho, who's like a hot Brazilian prospect. He's ranked 12th. He's a couple fights away. Anthony Hernandez, fans love him. He could be a couple fights away. It's like Jared Cannonier had his shot. That's the problem that I'm having, and it was a boring fight. I think it would be he would have to have some fortunate circumstances for him to get that title shot again, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyways, but I do think Khamzat versus him does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Anyways, we're on 40 minutes here. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, let's move on.
I'm gonna give you guys a parlay to end off this live.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say it one more time because I've said it multiple times. If I'm gonna skip a week betting on UFC, this is the week. So many toss-ups. But anyway, parlay of the night. Rosas versus Turcios. It's not gonna go the distance. I think that Raul is going to submit him. So that's that. Reyes versus Jacoby. I'm going under 2.5 rounds. We're going to see a knockout. It is almost guaranteed. I don't care who wins. I want Jacoby. Obviously, I've mentioned that. But I think it's going to be a knockout. I think under 2.5 rounds is a fair bet on minus 145. Ferreira versus Stolfus. Same thing. I think it's going to be a knockout. Fight's not going to go the distance. It's minus 475. So that just, a little sprinkle in there to just improve our odds. And then Cannonier versus Imavov. I think it's going to go over 2.5 rounds. I do think it's going to go the distance, which is the better bet, but I wanted to leave a little bit of wiggle room just in case Imavov does pull off a knockout or a sub there. I do think it's going to be in the later rounds. So that's a plus, or it's at minus 295. Brings us into plus 422. $100. It's going to get you 522. Jesse, you think we're winning $400 this week, or am I taking a loss here?
Yeah, I actually like all of them. Like the only one I'm just not sure about, I think, is like Rosas and Turcios. I think and just because I don't know what Raul Rosas we're gonna get, this has been a fight that UFC tried to book before. Like, I don't know. I just don't know. So I'm so unsure about Rosas at this point.
I know that's my biggest question mark of this parlay as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Stolfus. I mean, you might as well have just added Ferreira winning by knockout to that fight doesn't go the distance one. So I think that's what you're implying with that bet.
Yeah.
Especially, and that's what the odds are saying. The odds think he's getting knocked out too, right? So I like it. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I would make that bet. I would say this, Adam. If you're unsure about betting on this card on any of these fights, I would just bet this. This is the only thing you should bet. Yeah. So,
hell yeah. All right, brother. Anyways, it's been another great week of insider betting. I think these are getting better. I think people are enjoying them. We got some locks, dude. This is if I go 100% on this fight card, I would not be surprised. If I go 0% on this fight card, I also will not be surprised. So, anyways, I appreciate you joining me again, brother. Every Thursday, we jump around between 3 p.m. Pacific. Today we jumped on at 3:30 Pacific. Let us know in the comments if you want us to jump on at a certain time. But anyways, it's been a pleasure. Jesse, I'll see you next week, brother.
Good to see you, bro. And let's go Dominick Reyes. Plus 450 right now. Let's go.